back to This Week in Sports for Friday, October 27, 2017. I'm Jack Kroll, and next to me is Tyler Wheeler. Let's get into things. The Dodgers have it all, and the Astros have it all, too. With one of the best games in World Series history happening Wednesday night in Game 2, can the Astros take that momentum into Houston for Game 3? Also, LA is being pressured for the first time in the playoffs. Can they respond, Tyler?
I absolutely think that the Dodgers can respond to this. I think their team is just completely and utterly prepared for this.
Yeah, they definitely have an all-around just really good team.
They do.
I mean, from their pitching, they have a great lineup, and their bullpen's phenomenal too.
Yes, exactly.
So who would you say is going to take it all into the World Series?
Dodgers in 6. You heard it here. It's true. Jack, how do you feel about this?
I think I like the Astros in 7. I really do. I think they have enough depth in their rotation. McCullers completely shut down the Yankees lineup last series. Although the Dodgers played great, I don't know how they're going to respond to a bunch of pressure.
All right, fair enough.
And speaking of last series, the AL and NLCS was two completely different series. The ALCS was really close and exciting and brought to a Game 7. The Yankees came back from being down 0-2 again, but that didn't matter because starting pitching carried the Astros to win the ALCS and move on to the World Series. The NLCS was a walk in the park for the Dodgers. They won the series 4-1 at Wrigley Field. And what were your thoughts on both series?
Like you said, obviously the AL championship game championship series rather, was way more exciting and definitely caught me by surprise personally because I thought the Yankees just weren't going to be able to respond. But they did, and they brought it back and fought hard, and fell in Game 7. But that's no shame. But obviously, the Dodgers just absolutely dominated their series, beating the Cubs in 5. Cubs aren't slouches.
No, they're not, and that proves to show you how great the Dodgers really are. I mean, they have Clayton Kershaw obviously is the best pitcher in baseball.
A Hall of Fame material, clearly.
And you have Kenley Jansen as your closer, and he's been phenomenal too so far. Mm-hmm. And you have guys like Kike Hernandez, who didn't play; he was hurt, but he came through in Game 5 with 7 RBIs with 3 home runs. I mean, if you get a lot of depth like that in your lineup, you're going to be really good in the playoffs and tough to beat.
Yeah, exactly.
The Yankees, just fell short. They came back from the Indians being down 2-0 also, and they just didn't have the starting pitching that Houston had that carried them.
That's true. They just don't have quite the depth in their rotation. CC Sabathia, solid as always, but I feel that other pitchers, Masahiro Tanaka, that just didn't step up quite enough.
Yeah, I understand what you mean.
Just like in the playoffs in general.
Tanaka, I thought had a really good playoffs. He was, especially against the Indians.
That's true.
Had 7 shutout innings, and
that was impressive. Yes.
And then had against Houston, I believe he had a shutout.
I believe so. I believe you're correct. Actually, I think I was wrong. I was wrong.
With CC Sabathia though, in Game 7 he had the start. Just couldn't match Morton, and McCullers eventually came in to finish up the game.
Exactly.
Yeah. CC just kind of he couldn't get past it, and the Yankees weren't able to come back on Morton and the Astros. And skip now to the NFL. In Week 7, all of the one-loss teams fell down to 2 losses besides the Eagles. The Patriots are back on top of the AFC East. And do you think this is gonna be how the rest of the season shapes out?
I think so. I think the Patriots, had a bit of a couple mishaps in the beginning of the season, but I think they're just gonna do what they normally do and just take it to the Super Bowl. To be honest, I think they're gonna probably win out the rest of the season. I'm calling it.
That's a fair assessment. I mean, they've played very well. Although I believe Week 6 against the Jets, they did get a lucky call there.
They did. Touchdown. They did indeed. But
one touchdown/fumble, whatever you'd want to call it. But you're right. I mean, they whooped the Falcons.
Yes, Falcons. Yeah. Super Bowl rematch, beat them 23-7.
And all the 2 lost teams, or all the 1 lost teams besides the Eagles, lost. I mean, the Eagles have been really, really impressive so far, and Chiefs just fell to the Raiders too.
The Chiefs did just fall 30-31. They lost against the Raiders, who were without Marshawn Lynch.
Yeah, he got ejected earlier in the game.
He did.
He's been a a circus so far, I would say.
Yeah, he's something.
I don't know if the NFL's ever seen a player like him who's got great talent, but just a lot of off the field.
Quite the personality.
Yeah, very big personality. But let's talk about the Eagles. They have been very impressive so far.
Eagles, to be honest, I didn't expect much out of them this year because based on previous years, they just don't perform that well. But right now, Wentz is just absolutely amazing. I think
he's been tearing it up.
I think he's up to 11 passing touchdowns now.
I think you're right.
I think so.
Right.
Yeah.
And also, I mean, Alshon Jeffrey's had a pretty good year so far too for them. You know, first year coming over from the Bears, having one heck of a year for himself so far.
Exactly.
And also, Philly's defense has been very good too.
It has.
They've been able to step it up in key moments with guys like Fletcher Cox on the defensive line, able to stop whatever defense is there that week for them. I think right now, I think the Patriots and the Eagles are the two teams to beat.
I think so. I think you're right.
All right, now let's move over from the NFL now into hockey. The NHL has been a little bit unpredictable so far this year. The Rangers have been surprisingly terrible, and the Devils have played extremely well. The Penguins haven't been that impressive, getting blown out a couple of times, but still are in first. Do you think anything's going to go back to normal?
I think so. I think, early season jitters, each team is finding their stride, coming into the new season and everything. The Rangers clearly not off to a good start, being 3-6-2, not up to their standards of previous seasons where they like to get off to quick starts. Like you said, the Penguins as well struggled at first, but they're now at the top. They're in first now because they are 7-3-1, which is very Penguin-esque.
Yeah, especially in the last couple of years, we've seen a lot from Pittsburgh.
Yes, exactly.
And but the Devils also having a very good season so far too, with that number 1 overall draft pick helping them a lot.
Yes, I think he's been fantastic for them.
Yeah, and also you have to credit Corey Schneider, who's really stepped it up this year, because a lot of people, I think he's one of the more underrated goaltenders in the National Hockey League. He's been very, hasn't had that good defense for him.
Yeah, he hasn't had the defense for many years now, and now it's finally starting to come together a bit, and people are starting to realize how quality he really is, because he had to step it up a lot, and sometimes you just can't do everything for your team.
Yeah, it's definitely true.
Especially following up, taking over for a certain Marty Brodeur.
Yeah, it's not going to be.
Some would say is the best.
Yeah, definitely has a case for that. Now let's go over from the East Coast now over to the West Coast. The Vegas Golden Knights have been very good. They were able to get decent players in the expansion draft and have been unbelievable so far, although they have had some bad luck when starting goaltender Marc-Andre Fleury had a concussion. They were able to bounce right back without him. And do you think the Golden Knights are going to be this good going on?
I think so. I think they got a solid team. Not really any, you could say superstars of the league, but that's a team. It's a team that wants to prove something, and I think they got the drive and ambition to go and do some special things this season.
Yeah, you're exactly right. They've been able to get James Neal from the Predators, and obviously Marc-Andre Fleury, who has been solid so far.
Yes.
They've been 7-1-0. It's the best start for an expansion team ever in the NHL, and I don't know if this was a perfect time for a new expansion team, with the teams kind of having a bunch of really good players that they could get rid of, a bunch of young and good players that they can get rid of.
I think so. I think it was the perfect time with tons of new talent coming into the league, old talent starting to go but still holding it down. I think it was plenty of time to distribute them amongst other teams.
I would agree with you there. The Golden Knights have just been, I think I would say that they're the best team, surprisingly, so far in the NHL.
Exactly. I feel the same way completely.
And now let's go over from hockey now into basketball. The Warriors have had a rocky start. Also, other teams like the Spurs and the Rockets have proven themselves. And can the Warriors, will they still be able to come back and win the West?
I think you just look at the Warriors team, and I don't think there's any doubt that they could come back and just win the championship again, to be honest. Just their starting five of just Steph Curry, Thompson, Draymond Green, Kevin Durant, the Slim Reaper. I think they're just off to a rough start. Tons of new teams are starting to pick up the pace a bit and form their own super teams almost. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously the Rockets getting really good, and same thing with the Oklahoma City Thunder, who I mean they have also a rocky start, but I think they're going to be able to bounce back too.
I think so. I think the Rockets are main contenders as well now that they've acquired Chris Paul. So link up with James Harden. I think that duo is going to be fantastic for them.
The one team so far that surprised me though is the Spurs. They've been unbelievable so far too.
They've been on fire. They're always good though.
Yeah,
every year.
Every year. You know, you never expect it, and then just out of the blue, they just come up and be really, really, really good.
Yeah.
So let's go now over to college football. As Penn State has been able to roll over their opponent so far, but last week they routed number 19 Michigan 42-13. Can they keep it up again and beat Ohio State with the Buckeyes waiting for them in Columbus? And can and will they secure a playoff spot with a win on Saturday?
I think if they can beat Ohio State, they prove that they are main contenders for the championship themselves, and I think they'll clinch a spot in the playoffs easily.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with you. Although, I mean, obviously not knowing if they could be able to win the Big Ten championship or stuff like that, which it's been kind of like weird so far in the last year with Ohio State getting in and Penn State being knocked out. I think Penn State's going to want revenge, but I think Ohio State will also want revenge because Penn State beat them last year.
I think you're right.
It's kind of an odd game with all that happening last year with the blocked field goal and everything like that too.
Yeah, I think this year Penn State's gonna get the better of Ohio State. Ohio State for me this season just hasn't really been the Ohio State that they're typically known as. You know, a top 4 team. Right now they're number 6, which is, don't get me wrong, that's amazing still, but
very good.
Just not quite there for me, but Penn State's rolling.
And also Ohio State has been extremely, I mean, they've been very good their last few weeks, especially JT Barrett, but they haven't played anyone that impressive.
That's
for
true.
me that because obviously weeks ago they played Oklahoma and Oklahoma blew them out, especially in Ohio State. That was a crazy game that no one saw coming, and maybe Penn State might be able to do the same here.
I think so.
All right, now let's go over from 2 down to 1, as Alabama is still ranked the number 1 team in the country. They got all the number 1 votes this week, and they haven't really played any tough teams so far. And with Penn State, like I said, riding Michigan last week, does Bama still deserve that number 1 ranking?
I don't think so. Honestly, you look at the teams that they've played so far, barely. How many of them are ranked again?
I believe 1, and that was Florida State.
Florida State, exactly.
Who are not ranked now.
Florida State is no longer ranked, and that was the only team that they played that was ranked. And yeah, they're crushing these teams. Just like last week, they beat Tennessee 45-7. But really, there's not much competition going on here for them.
No, it's not. And I mean, Penn State hasn't played that many teams either. But for them to beat Iowa early in the year on a last-second touchdown, because that's always a tough place to play, as Michigan lost to them last year. On a last-second field goal and a whole bunch of stuff happening that Penn State has been able to prove themselves a lot. I mean, Ohio State, Alabama, don't get me wrong, is a great football team. And every year they're unbelievable, but I just don't know that they've proved themselves that much. I think it's just because of the brand that they're there right now.
Yeah, I think so. I think everyone's under that Alabama spell where just assume that they're number 1 almost, even though they could be playing, just average teams.
Yeah, I think you're right, especially if Penn State could win this week. That would, I don't know how the committee would respond to that.
I think they're going to be getting some first-place votes instead.
Yeah, I think on that note, I think we're going to wrap it up for This Week in Sports. For Tyler Wheeler, I'm Jack Kroll. We'll see you next time, and have a great day.
But I can't, 'cause we